took a chance and sold up and gave away everything that I own to experience some much needed adventure in my life. So come along and experience it with me every step of the way on my journey around the UK waterways and in life on my little channel, Narrowboat Cruising and Lifestyle. Morning YouTubers. Before we start our journey today, I've got some errands to run. I need some ID to sort out some personal business, and all I've got is my driving licence. And when I tried to use that, I realised that it had run out 2 weeks ago. So I've got to walk up to a post office in Ivanhoe to see if I can renew it, which is a lovely looking village with a pretty post office, but they didn't have the facilities there to do what I needed. So I'm going to have to go to Leighton Buzzard. Some people would see that as a wasted journey, but it was a lovely walk through the woods, and I've seen a little village that I've never seen before, which was nice, and I've shown a little bit of it to you. And I've got to look after you, because I don't want to be talking to myself on here, do I? We're coming up to a set of 3 locks called Seabrook locks. I'll show you on the map. As you probably know already, we're working our way up the Grand Union towards the middle of England, and we're starting off today near the village of Pitstone. We've got a fair few locks to get through, and I'm going to try and get to Slapton. So come and join me on my little adventures and we'll see what Slapton's like. Slapton? That's an unusual sounding name. Conjures up some pictures in my mind. I do think of some weird stuff standing on the back here on my own. Sorry about that. We're coming up to the second lock of the day, which is one of the 3 Seabrook locks. That building you can see up in front of me is an old derelict pump house. I had a quick peek through the doorway, and all it is now is a well-built home for pigeons and rats. I haven't got a car or a permanent address. You have to do quite a bit of work even for simple things like renewing a driving licence. And as I've said before, I've got my boat safety certificate coming up and I'm running out of time on that. It's not the work that's the problem. The problem is the logistics of sorting out all the materials and getting the right stuff that I need. And as you can see, at the moment, I'm right out in the middle of nowhere. So that's why I've got to get my skates on and get to Leighton Buzzard, because I know they've got a lot of industrial estates and places where I can get materials, so hopefully that'll do the trick. It's a little bit windy out here in the open, but it's a nice sunny day for the time of year. And if you like living out in the middle of nowhere with just a few narrowboaters to ruin your peace, that house is perfect. Rather than go all the way to the lock landing, I'm going to try and go up these steps at the end of the lock and just tie the rope around this bollard. Makes it a lot easier. For a single-handed narrowboater, closing the lock gates after you've gone through can be a real pain, but it's something you've got to do. Sorry about the builder's bum, but I can't help being a bit common. I've noticed a lot of boaters don't cruise in the winter, or don't like cruising in the winter. But I don't mind it if the weather's nice. It's very quiet. I mean, have you seen any other boats moving? And if I do make a little mistake, there's not so many people out here to see it. I have noticed that some of the other boaters out here can be a little bit judgmental, and I've tried to make sure that I'll never be like that. As we're all human and we all make mistakes, so for people out there that are thinking of taking up this lifestyle, be prepared, because you're going to make mistakes. As long as they're not too serious, it's all part of the fun. We're going through an area now that's a bit flat, and there's not really much to look at. I think the old boaters, from the days of the boaters that was working on their boats, used to call this the fields. Still, it's got a beauty of its own. I'm going to pull over here for a cup of tea and a sandwich, and if you listen carefully, you'll hear me getting grounded on the mud. I've been trying to reverse off, but I'm stuck solid, so I'm going to go down the gunnels and see if I can push it off. I've got to be a bit careful, because if I do get it moving and I push it away from the bank, I can't get back on again. There he goes. All this aggro for a cup of tea. I never learn. I've got 2 flasks on the boat, but I never make any tea or coffee before I set off. I'm going to try and pull over again between them 2 boats coming up. We should be okay there. I'm going to listen out this time for any signs of scraping along the mud. As usual, I got a bit lazy and stayed there for the night, but we're cracking on again now. Behind that haystack on the right, there's like a mountain of used tyres. Don't know how they're going to get rid of them. We're coming up to the first lock of the day, which is Halton Lock. There's some people up there working for the CRT that have got a little boat with all gadgets on it that measures the flow of water that's going out of the overflows there. All clever stuff. If you look at the bridge in front, it's got an extra arch, and the idea for the canal companies back in the day is they was going to build an extra lock so they could get their goods through faster, but it never came to fruition. See a few bridges like that here. Just going to be a good boy and close the gates. I was reading a boat handling book last night, and it said you'd need at least 2 crew members if you've got a 40-foot boat. Well, I have to do it all on my own. I think the bloke that wrote it must have been a bit spoilt in his boating career. Because reality is a bit different. There's a modern day thing coming up over there on the right. Glamping. There's like a glamping site there. Not sure they'd like it too much in the winter, but I bet that's lovely in the summer if you've got some nice company with you. They've even got a retro caravan over there. Has anyone out there been glamping? If so, leave a comment and tell me what you thought, as I'm curious to know what it's like. In the thumbnail to this video, I mentioned about a robbery. When I get through this lock, I'll tell you all about that. This is Slapton Lock. I've been lucky with the weather again today. Look at that lovely blue sky. Here I am with my crew of 1, doing it all myself. I must admit though, the exercise is good. When we get to bridge 118, I'll show you a map and some pictures of an historic robbery that happened a couple of 100 yards to the left hand side of where I am now. And this is bridge 118. I've put an arrow on bridge 118, and if you look a little bit to the left, you can see Bridigo Bridge, railway bridge, where the great train robbery took place on the 7th of August 1963. It was probably the most famous robbery in British history. The robbers managed to stop a Royal Mail train from Glasgow to London, and they got away with £2.6 million, which in today's money is coming up to £100 million. Here's what the bridge looks like nowadays, and this is what it looked like at the time, probably a day after the robbery. Here's a picture of the ringleaders from left to right. Charlie Wilson, Bruce Reynolds in the middle, and Buster Edwards on the right. Later on, Buster Edwards was portrayed in a film by Phil Collins, and the film was called Buster. Another of the train robbers, Ronnie Biggs, became famous for escaping. Where they robbed the Royal Mail train, the British establishment wasn't very happy, and when they was caught and sentenced, they were sentenced to 30 years, most of them, which was unheard of at the time. And all this happened a couple of 100 yards from where I am now. Hope you enjoyed the video. I couldn't resist putting this bit in at the end, and I hope to see you on the next one. So bye for now.